Okay, perfect. All right, so this is our September session of the AI and EdTech MasterMind for Charter Schools. I'm Jacob Griscom. I'm our CEO here at R&B Communications and heading up this initiative along with the portal and, oh, we got Dan, excellent. Along with the portal and the EdTech library. So thanks everybody for making it today. We're focused today on, yeah, no worries, guys. Come on in, roll on in. Focus today on AI and EdTech related to instruction. So we're going to do some vendor demos and kind of a smattering of different things related to instruction, and then explore a little bit around this question around what have we kind of enabled, what have we solved already that yesterday before we had any real digital and ed tech elements to our instruction, and certainly any AI elements to our instruction. What are the problems that we've kind of already solved and are actively improving around instruction? And then we get to put our future hats on a little bit and see where do we think this is headed? What are we excited about in the next year, 3 years, 5 years around AI and instruction and things that are most interesting to us. So let's just do this. As we get into that part, we can do some introductions and say where you're at. But otherwise, we can go ahead and hop in with demos and then that conversation. Oh, one other thing, I'll give a quick report. Actually, Dan and I were both at the New California AI and Education work group run by the CDE. Started off of this Senate bill, and really interesting conversations, breakout groups, just seeing how folks are thinking about this and how the state is approaching it. I think the like shorthand thing to say is that this conversation is really active, that the superintendent of California Education is focused on this. This is a very dynamic space. It's going to meet again if you're going to be in California, October 20th. You're welcome to come like I did as a member of the public, attend as much of it as you want. They let us participate in the breakout sessions as well. So really you can kind of do most of it, even if you're not a member, and participate there. But I think it's interesting. It's like this real fork in the road moment was one of the sentiments there of like, hey, a, a collective acknowledgement that this is a big force changing the future of education. And because it's the CTA and other folks are involved, there is like some focus on, hey, let's like we want to try to keep jobs, understandable. But obviously like our focus is more like, well, let's get the best possible outcomes for students and learning and instruction and the rest, and then like see how that maps and fold out. Let's continue to make kids our focus and learning our focus. But I would recommend it. I'd say go and check it out if you've got some bandwidth and space to check that out. It will be the same week as A plus. If you'll be there, you could come to Sacramento early. It'll be on Monday, and then A plus starts Wednesday, and that's the personalized learning charter group. So let's go ahead and kick it off here. Lourdes, are you good to go first for Mr. D Math?
Sure.
Okay. So Mr. D Math, you can give a little introduction about Mr. D Math and show us the tools you guys are playing with right now.
So I'm Lourdes with Mr. D Math. I am not a math teacher. I'm the administrative director here, so I work with mostly just making sure that everything in the background is working in Mr. D Math, or students are getting registered, bills are being paid, and all of that stuff. Mr. D is traveling today, and so is Mr. H, who do more of the instruction. But Mr. D, of course, is thinking about how do we use AI for math. So one of the things we already have implemented in our classes when students take our courses is that students are actually given the solutions, right? They are actually given the solutions to their math problems. And the philosophy behind that is when Mr. D was teaching in public school, he would come home and bring 150 papers and grade them at night and take away time from his family. And then he'd give them back to the students, and the students would put them in their backpack, and they weren't really interested in what he had to say about their papers. So he said, let me try an experiment. So the next semester, he decided that students would grade their own papers and students would correct their own papers. And when students started working with their own work and seeing their own errors and taking accountability for that, then they became more interested in their learning and they started doing better in the class. They started asking questions, their test scores soared. So that's where he got this philosophy from. So when our students take our math classes, they'll they'll do the coursework, and then we ask them to check their work and check their solutions. And if it's wrong, figure out why. And if you are struggling, come to one of our extra help sessions. So from that, he started thinking, well, how can we get kids to think about math in a different way? So he came up with this idea of using a chatbot for students in their math courses. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can see what it looks like. So this right now is being piloted. It's not, we have different students trying it out. And there's just different ways of students asking questions and prompting the AI to help them get through a math problem. So let me go ahead and open this one up for you, for example. It's under Mr. H's account here, so. And then here you would ask a question. So let's say I have a math problem. Bear with me because I'm not an expert with this by any means, but and let's see if it'll work. I have some other examples that I already worked out, but so I'm asking this to solve for X. So if I was doing my math homework and I wanted this to help me, it's not just going to give me the answer. So on the right-hand side here, you'll see my prompt. And then here, it's like, let's work on it. Let's work on solving this together. So what do I understand about the problem? What do you think our first step should be? So where am I typing in? I need to figure out what X is, and I'm going to put isolate the X and see what happens with it. So it's going to keep on prompting me to answer the question. Great start. You want to, so to do that, and it gives me the answer on how to solve the problem. It doesn't just solve the problem for me, which a lot of the times, if you just go somewhere else, it'll just give you the answer. But we're trying to get the kids to how to think about math. So this is an example of what we're using right now to get kids to think about math in a different way and get help with math without just getting the answer, but understand the thinking of how to get to an answer. So this, again, I could just keep on going with this. Great start. You want to do that. We can begin by getting all the X terms on one side of the equation. How can we move the 2X from the right side to the left side? I don't even know where the problem is anymore. Subtract. I don't even know it.
Divide by 2x, I believe.
Somebody know the answer? Help me. Well, let me write the wrong answer because I don't know. Like I said, let's see what happens.
You subtract 2x from both sides.
Yeah, subtract it. I'll put that. Exactly. So the equation will look like this. What does that simplify to? Oh, no. I have no idea. Help me out, guys.
X equals 12.
Well, you jumped
Yeah,
ahead.
but you have to give it the step. So
I see X,
say,
X minus 7 equals 5.
Yes. This is fun. And then I would add 7 to both sides. There you go.
Nice.
So then it says, could you explain the steps we took to solve the questions you were teaching someone else? And that's part of our, so also one of the things that we do in Mr. D Math is we ask the parents to meet with their students on a weekly. and to sit down with them and go over a few problems from the week and ask their students to explain with either their parent, their grandparent, their charter school teacher, and explain, how did you get the problem? How did you get the answer? And walk the parents through it. Because as we all know, when we're teaching, it's better to understand what you're doing and as if you understand it and you can explain it, then it's going to stick in your brain. So that's one of the ways to use it. Here are some other ones that have already been that you can see that we've already used. This one, I'll ask you to find the mistake. So it's more like a game. See how it says find the mistake as part of the title?
Yeah.
So this one, I'm moving up to the top so we can just see one that's already, figured out for us.
And I thought cool when I was testing it as well, I could have it do some assessment for me around like, hey, what's my current math level? And it would start testing me in a few different things. Do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
And I could kind of figure out where my strong and weak legs were in the subject too.
Right. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you guys. How would you see your students being able to use this, and how can we, because right now we're literally testing it with our students, and we want ideas from you guys as what are some things you could see us doing and putting into this AI program before we put it out there.
Perfect. Yeah, well, let's create a forum thread on that, and then we can have people submit ideas. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you, Lourdes. Let's pass it over to Shweta. I know you are on mom duty and need to pick up one or more children. So Shweta's with strived.io. And yeah, let's see, with all of the things you can do, what you came up with relative to instruction today.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you for passing the baton over. So my name is Shweta. I am the CEO and founder of Strive.io, as Jacob mentioned. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I did put together a couple of slides, and then I'll kind of walk you through a quick version of the demo. All right, if someone can just give me a yay, you guys see my screen?
Yay.
Okay, awesome. With Teams, you can no longer see the people when you're presenting. All right. All right, it's loading. I think it's coming.
Great.
All right. There we are. Okay, cool. So quick background on kind of us and what we do. So Strived is what we call an AI-powered data intelligence tool for K-12 educators. And as I was reading through that in prep for this session, I was like, that's just a mouthful, and made me kind of really think through. As a charter leader, I was at a charter for 5 years here based out of California in San Jose. What are we really like attempting to solve here? And I think as a leader that looked at a ton of data in the past, I realized that trying to understand the data in a school district just really sucks. And I was like, that's a way better way to say what we're trying to say, and really think through the problems that we're hoping to solve with districts like yourself. So when we kind of incepted Stride, we really spent a lot of time thinking about why data is just so difficult. And most of you probably, none of this is probably new to you, but as we all know, data is generally very siloed. We have a lot of vendors that create data walls. Nothing really talks to one another. And frankly, like there's just not enough time in the day, as you all know, to kind of really think through all the different pieces around data. I also know that data is very reactive. And so a lot of times when it does come in from vendors, it's sometimes months, oftentimes even sometimes years later, where we're looking at state level data. And if poor Joe in the basement actually does get access to the data, it often takes months to clean up and present. And I know that as a former administrator, if I saw one more dashboard, I would just about die. When we started Strive, we kind of recognized this is like a 30-year-old problem, probably longer, probably since the inception of schools. We've never really done data-driven instruction well. However, that all said, one of our learnings has also been that there's not been a ton of urgency to really fix that problem. And so while we're working with a number of lighthouse districts and pulling in a lot of their data, and I'll kind of walk you through what that looks like, we're not seeing a level of urgency when we kind of went out to build this out. We said, okay, we can pull in everything from your SIS data down to your classroom level data, put it all in one big AI backend and allow you to interact with it. We still weren't seeing a level of urgency coming with some of that offering. And so as I was thinking about our presentation today, I was thinking about my goal for you guys is at the end of this 5 minutes, however long it takes, that you can really understand how we can use data to fix urgent problems for you today. Now, I can walk you through the benefits, all your data is in one spot, you don't have any more dying dashboards, and we can really solve like real use case, give you real use case solutions every day in real time. But what I really wanted to focus on for today was specific use cases on how we can support you today, this month, and the next couple of weeks. And that kind of I'll walk you through a couple of different versions of that. So one is a lot of our districts right now are using our team and the data we pulled into our system for teacher PD, having teachers log in, look at kids that are struggling, get aligned strategies to support them, and then track them over time. We're also supporting a number of our districts using our backend on attendance reporting, specifically with the focus on chronic absenteeism. A couple of our teams are also doing report card generation out of our data. And then with a lot of our charters, we're supporting them on general like compliance and renewal type of data. So I'll walk you over and I kind of like set up the demo so you guys can get a quick view of what that looks like. And obviously happy to jump into any bit of that offline as well, if my screen doesn't freeze on me. All right, there we go. All right, so the way that we generally work with our district partners is we work with someone usually like sitting in the confluence of instructional technology and curriculum. We work with our teams, it's just dummy data, to kind of pull in, like I said, all the different data. This comes in nightly usually. In this case, it's just dummy data, so it's not updated, but it's usually updated every night through some secure SFTP dump. That includes everything from your SIS data. We automatically integrate all your state level data, any formative interim assessment data, and we overlay that with some level of classroom data. And that can often come from an EdTech tool or some other kind of progress monitoring data that we pull from you. In lieu of that, if we're just getting like a couple times a year of data, generally our districts are only using us during like kind of MTSS cycles. But oftentimes we're working very closely with our districts to pull in more regularity in data. And we also overlay that with context data, things like your scope and sequence models, your instructional frameworks, things like that. What that then does is allows our system to go in on the back end, and we're able to actually go in and make these predictive recommendations. You can go in, pick specific subjects of things that you're interested in looking at in terms of specific data areas. And if you just hit select all, you can see that it does a really good job in kind of going in on the back end. We've prompted it on the front end. If the data updates last night, all of this information will be automatically updated. Now, this allows our kind of the mix between just a chatbot and like giving you something to kind of visualize and work with. You can go and you can ask questions and dig deeper into any of these recommendations, but also you can click on any one of our kind of AI specific recommended questions as well. You can save some questions. So if there's things that you just want to see on a daily basis, you can go ahead and save those. And then you can obviously interact with the data just by looking at, just by asking a question I asked this morning. This is one that we're using a lot during PD, group my kids in 7th grade based on the math data you have. It went in, gave me some recommendations. It grouped my kids into different levels, told me a little bit about their performance, some recommended strategies. And then it gives you some recommendations based on the existing context, which includes their scope and sequence. So it knows what the teacher is teaching this coming week or weeks, and then gives recommendations based on that. And then I said, for struggling kids, can you create profile cards? And so it goes in and gives me, we don't have a ton of data on these kids right now, but it gives me whatever data I have access to for each of our kids and personalized strategies on how to support them with very specific focus on what standard to focus on. If we have data that's down to the skill level, it'll do that as well. So it'll kind of walk you through that. It'll also do all kinds of versions of different charts and graphs, and we have built in some heat maps and stuff like that. So I know I'm already at 7 minutes. I'm going to quickly jump over to our reporting. One of the other pieces of that I wanted to make sure I kind of touched on. A couple of our districts are working with them, like I mentioned, on these different reports. So we have all your data. You can give us like a template of, say, your report card. I can go in here, I can click on my grade level, and I can generate this report. Same thing with on the attendance end. Teachers get access to all of these reports, and they can go in, they can edit, they can download, but it kind of saves a bunch of our districts a ton of time around different kind of reporting tools. We're also building out a data explorer that's not live right now, but our toolkit is, and we're super excited about being able to sort of see what other kinds of reports are important to have on a regular basis where we can go in and support.
That's excellent. Yeah, so likewise, let's put a forum thread on that so people can give you feedback on like what reports they would like to see the most next.
Perfect. And then Jacob, I can, we do have some like, we put together some specials particularly for this group. So I can, if I share my slides, will you be able to share it with the group afterwards?
Yep, I'll put it into
Awesome.
the YouTube there.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Shweta. Let's see. Next up, Daisha with Coursemojo.
Thank you. Afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with you. Dan, I especially remember the last time we were together. I think you were a particularly effective sixth grader. So I appreciate that very much.
Wait, you
and
knew
maybe
Dan as a sixth grader?
he did a Mojo demo.
Oh, gotcha.
And was,
Pretending
as you
it
can
was a sixth
imagine, particularly creative and
grader.
and misbehaving even at times, playing an authentic sixth grader. So
Excellent.
so we've got it's actually 27 years ago I founded a charter school in New Haven, Connecticut. That was Amistad Academy, and then I spent 22 years at Achievement First. So it's nice to be back with charter cousins. So we've got two big things we're trying to do with Coursemojo. We are trying to improve ELA achievement, specifically at the middle school level, and we are trying to improve teacher retention. And in particular, what we're doing with AI is taking AI supports for kids and teachers and embedding them in the high quality instructional materials that a lot of schools have already adopted. So a lot of EdTech is sort of in this supplemental, maybe tier 2 space. We are trying to help tier 1 instruction be more effective, more engaging, and easier for teachers to implement these top-rated curricula. You can see along the bottom the list of curricula that we're supporting this coming school year. And we don't take the whole lesson, but we try to find the hardest thinking part of the lesson, and that's where we will layer in the AI supports. We're going to do a lot demo here in a minute, but let me just talk through. We do now have a bunch of results. Aldine ISD in Texas had the largest reading gains of any large district in the state. So out of the top 115, they were number one. They improved 12 percentage points a single year. And we are happy to, they think we are responsible for about 6 of those percentage points. And with even greater gains for the multilingual learners and the FRL students. We also had the pleasure of working with KIPP NorCal and Alliance down in LA, Alliance for College Ready Schools, and they both had significant gains as well that they're excited about. And the second big goal, if you remember, was teacher satisfaction and retention. So not just whether they enjoy using it, but whether it's helping them implement their curriculum and making their jobs easier and more enjoyable, as well as contributing to student learning. So I'm going to show you my screen, but I always prefer when people can do as Dan did and be your own person in this experience. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat. It should work if you've got a Google-powered email or a Microsoft-powered email. You can log in with that. And you're ultimately, once you log in, your screen should look like mine. And this is a Wit and Wisdom 6th grade poem, a beautiful Langston Hughes poem that I hope at least some of you know. And this is not something extra or additional. This is the text kids are reading today. The close reading questions they're trying to answer will ultimately build up to a final culminating writing task, sort of the main event. Part of what I think we should all be focused on in this age of AI is being especially human, and like, how do we foster student collaboration? So actually, our preferred implementation is for this first part, when the kids are doing the close reading, they're in partners or small groups, talking to each other, and then treating Mojo, as a kid said, it's like the handout is talking to me. So they use it as their now dynamic experience. But if you click to continue a couple times, you will come to this first bolded question. And that is where the some of the differentiation comes in, because students do their best. Again, you can be free on your own to answer however you see fit, but for the sake of these 5 minutes, what this poem is getting at, it's a beautiful extended metaphor, which is why Wit and Wisdom chooses to focus on it. And I would say the life for me ain't been no crystal stairs, tacks in it, splinters, boards torn up. If I gave just a sort of basic explanation, her life is hard. For the AI in the background is evaluating the student response. I'll show you the teacher side in a minute, but if you look at the top of your own student experience, you can see I currently have what the kids call a donut, that is partial understanding. And so the AI is evaluating it and then respond. The non-bolded questions are the AI scaffolds, and Mojo's trained to affirm. What I've got that's on the right track, and then push. And so I'm going from the 101 level of understanding to more of the author's craft. So to help the reader understand her pain, maybe even feel it. And that has now moved me on. You get up to 3 rounds of support. If I start on the next one, like pretty firmly in the wrong direction, let's see if I can say bear's an animal.
Nice.
And Mojo even gives me back. How cute. So no carpet on it. So you can see now yellow is actually wrong. It's telling me I'm not on the right track. Then I start and I'm back to this initial understanding, and now Mojo's pushing me for the metaphorical meaning of the word. So while all the students are working in partners, I can see Elizabeth in here and Brad. Good, welcome. And I've got some other folks who did this demo in the last earlier this week. But while all the students are working in their partners now, you can see the teacher has a live dashboard showing every student's level of understanding of every question. And you can imagine, if you have a class size of 27, what a difference it makes to be able to clearly see who's got full understanding, who's got partial understanding, or this donut, and who really needs my help. Red actually does not mean wrong. Red means you have not engaged with Mojo for up to 3 minutes. So the first threshold is engagement. Like, is that partner group off by the window, like actually working or just pretending to work? And then I can click, then I go, so first I go to the students who for whatever reason are not engaged. The good news is students are generally very engaged because they find this sort of inherently more interactive. And then I can click on it and see what's happening. You can be yellow because you are, as this student was, confused but trying. And so you can see the latest interaction with Mojo. I don't see images, I just see text. So that kid is not an effort issue, but they are struggling. I did have some folks willing to be inappropriate. Let's see, this is so annoying. I hate working. These are adults. Of course, once the kid figures out that you show up orange in a teacher's dashboard and you're immediately on blast, there's not a lot of that. Or if they're doing, I don't know, yes, no, one-word answers, they will show up as limited effort. They'll get a growth mindset thing from Mojo, like, we'll figure this out together. But we want the teacher to know if a student is just kind of phoning it in the whole way through an entire activity. So, but because these change in real time, you'll see if a kid goes from limited effort to something more significant. The other thing we're adding now in response to teacher feedback is we're trying to help teachers be even more strategic and effective. And so they said, well, it's great, but I have to click on every single dot to see the trends in student misconceptions in my class. I would like to know, what are kids struggling with? So now you push a button and it tells you right now in this class, what are students struggling with? Not surprisingly, they've got a literal level of understanding this poem versus a metaphorical, saying when you get to one of the later questions in the dark, she's blind or she can't see, missing that that's about uncertainty and fear in her life. And so Mojo always tees up 2 areas of misconceptions, suggests a discussion question, and teachers can pick whichever one they want to go after. Mojo will highlight exemplary student thinking, so you can show call and easily celebrate student work. Again, we're trying to make sort of the moves of effective teachers available to all teachers with a click as an ability to execute.
Cool.
And then after so the flow is kids work in partners with Mojo, then the teacher pauses, they have that class discussion based on the common misconception, and then students independently go back and answer an exit ticket here. So I won't take you through this whole thing, but what's different here now is that students, there's a rubric operating behind it. And so they receive up to 3 rounds of feedback with the level 1, then they go back and revise their thinking. I'm being asked to go grab text evidence, which I can do right from the poem. And then I would continue to progress. For those of you, I suspect you had something similar. We would have teachers take all these exit tickets home with them at night, have to grade them, then give them back to kids the next day, ideally the next day, not always the next day, and then have to have kids try to revise their writing days later when they have mentally moved on from that assignment and are not getting the chance to do feedback. If there's one more minute, I'll just show the supports for multilingual learners. Is that okay, Jacob? I don't want to eat up more time than I'm due. If you guys, for those of you who are in here, if you go down to the gear button, you can pick from up to 60 different home languages here. So I will go with Haitian Creole now. And it's not that the whole experience translates, but rather it's that students get targeted support when they need a direction or piece of feedback. So they push on the globe, they click on the globe, and they get the real-time translation of that direction or that specific thing. They also, for newcomers, we can have the entire text translated.
That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you, Daisha. And likewise, we could put a forum post in there with anything that you want to show off or get feedback on, and I'll do like a little newsletter off of that when there's some new forum posts that everybody sees them and has a chance to comment. All right, and last but not least, Rashi with Shunya Kids. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, just give me a thumbs up if you see the screen. I'm sorry, we don't use Teams as much. I know we, okay, perfect. Well, really excited to meet all of you. I'm based out of Santa Barbara, California, and you might know of another EdTech company from here called Parent Square. So we are from the same tech team that built Parent Square, other founders of Shunya Kids. So we are based in out of Santa Barbara, and we really deal with children from pre-K to first grade. That's our sweet spot. Our sweet spot is to build responsible technology for young children. And in the day and age of AI, we're going through this pendulum swing of, on one hand, we're using AI, but on the other hand, we are questioning what technology looks like for really young children. So I always like to start off with our why. The purpose that we exist is to create a love for learning languages and world cultures for young children. We really deal with English language learners. We really deal with small children. So we know that if they're excited about learning, the learning outcomes are going to be better. Then we all know that learning at this age is not only academic, it's social, emotional as well. And if children can see themselves in their learning, the learning outcomes are better. So that's another huge factor of what we do. And for our pedagogy, we really focus on the RITEC framework, which is responsible innovation technology for young children. And I'd like to just briefly talk about this, you might all already know of. the RITEC framework, but it was developed by UNICEF and Lego Group and funded by Lego Foundations. Its primary focus is to build technology for the well-being of children so that the learning outcomes are better, children feel positive about the learning, and it is not a negative experience for them, because this is what technology looks like for young children. It's overstimulating for the brains. If you look at the programs that children are using, whether at homes or in their households, just the visuals, the sound, it creates a Candy Crush experience, I usually say so, for children. And if you take this technology away from them, most likely it will create anxiety for them. So we really frown upon this kind of technology put in front of children. And we are a multilingual platform where we have 5 languages on our platform, really serving the Asian crowd too. But for school districts, it's mainly used for English and Spanish. And it is built with teachers, both DLI teachers, which is teachers coming from dual language immersion schools, that have built the curriculum as well as English. Now I'm going to just quickly take you into the experience of what it looks for districts. There are 3 experiences in this. So if you are a district admin, I've already set this up, so you can go in and really view data per district. So you can look at how many minutes are being used. You can customize what data you want to pull, what reports you want to pull by school, by teacher, daily minutes use, engagement level. We don't have time to kind of go deep into it, but if you're an admin, that would be your experience. But if you are a teacher, you have your own dashboard. This is my dashboard. I'll take you into it. You can customize the learning. So if you're an English only school, just look at these. This is English, Spanish, and Hindi. All you just need to do is enable English. So it serves the only English school. So if you're doing phonological awareness, print concepts, fluency, vocabulary, now we are actually doing a lot in numeracy too. We just before I joined this meeting, we came to know we won the SBIR grant, which is Small Business Innovation Research Award, to expand on numeracy curriculum. But
Congrats.
yeah, that just heard it before I joined this meeting. But till now, we've built out really literacy curriculum. So if you're an English only school, you can use it for English. Now, if your school district has a DLI program, you enable Spanish, you can disable English. And now the same curriculum is available for Spanish. So you're not spending money buying supplemental curriculum for English, then buying supplemental curriculum for Spanish. And for English language learners, as you pull them out during Target, you can enable English and Spanish on the platform, which kind of takes you back into the deck. And you have English and Spanish both available for the student experience. Now, this is what the student experience looks like. It's a clean experience. I'm showing a lot more of the transitional kindergarten activities. Everything is color coded. If you're doing print concepts, the experience is exactly how you would be using a pen and a paper. So I served on the board of Montessori for many years, very inspired by the tactile learning of Montessori for young children. So this is print concepts, just as you would be drawing on a paper and pencil. This kind of gives you that experience. There are full sentence structures built in, again, both available for English and Spanish. It has numeracy, lots of different activities built out for kindergarten, first grade, and a lot more added for numeracy in the last quarter. And this is about a 3-minute demo that will show you how teachers are using it in the classroom. Do we have time for it? Can I play it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get it, and then we'll have a little wrap up on where we're headed next here.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, the sound didn't come through this time though.
Oh, it didn't?
Mm-mm.
Man. Okay, just give me 1 second, please. Stop sharing. I know we tried this earlier and I enabled the sound.
When you try to share it, and you look for the tab, there should be an option in the bottom right corner that says also share tab audio. That might help.
Okay, I think I enabled it now. Just give me a thumbs up if you hear sound.
Welcome to Shunya Kids. Shunya Kids is a multilingual platform that provides Common Core aligned early literacy and math curriculum in 5 languages. Designed for young learners, Shunya is used worldwide in classrooms and homes to provide a diverse and culturally rich educational experience.
I love Shunya Kids because it is so dynamic. It is game-based. It provides social interaction. Kids can see themselves in it, and they can move from language to language, and that's awesome.
Shunya Kids meets our literacy goals because it offers many different opportunities for our students to practice language. It offers them many opportunities to look at language in vocabulary, articles of clothing, in vegetables and fruits, and all of those things that a young little person sees in their everyday world.
I used the new activities during target time. Really enjoyed the rhyming one. It's really good. And then they were really excited that they were able to build words. Some of my students that I have like 2, some really struggle. They were having success with it, so that was good.
Crumble, wiggle, giggle, giggle, wiggle. Elote, bote. Hermana, hermana. Elephant, yogurt. ¿Qué? Parque. Wheel, wheel.
Right now, it's coming in very handy as I'm starting to do our assessments. That then has become my group rotation as they're working on Shunya at my table while I test a student, and then I can just kind of grab. I love the little conversations that happen. Same thing, they're working in this little table group of 4. You know, we spend a half of our day trying to pull out good, meaningful conversation about the thing we're learning, and it creates it nicely on its own.
It helps a lot to have technology that it's authentic in Spanish and that it's play-based. It's appropriate for the development and the age of this group.
I think it's really impactful, especially because the culturally responsive dressing up of the characters.
Okay.
They're like, Maestra, what is this? And it just like opens up their mind, like asking questions. They're like, okay, I want to do this. And then they don't even know that they're learning because they think they're playing. You're learning. It's been awesome in my classroom.
So that was a quick demo. It showed you tons of activities on the program, how teachers are using it in the classrooms. But it's been very effective and powerful for the young learners, especially if you have a huge population of English language learners, multilingual population. And yeah, if you have more questions, happy to kind of connect with you later.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Rashi. Thank you to all of our vendors for these great demos here today. We'll do some more rounds of this because I've been meeting lots of interesting folks, and you're all going to continue to evolve alongside AI and EdTech, and so we'll have new things to show off. Let's go ahead and pivot it to like 12 minutes left here, so we'll leave just the last 2 to get ideas on topics for future conversations. Actually, Dan, I've got some ideas with you after our conversation, some things we could get into as well. So we'll talk more. But what I'm thinking, just in terms of where we've come from, what we clearly see from the education, K-12 education, we probably all shared to some degree in common, was a movement out of a one-size-fits-all environment into making it more practical to enable these personalized elements, these gamified elements. So we're potentially could have this engagement with the learning, and that we can start to segment the learning according to how people learn best, but also like Coursemojo was showing, down to particular elements that are tricky. I think that's a really interesting thing to reflect on, that you can have a teacher with a class of whatever it is, 20 or 30 kids, and that would normally just be a one-to-many, everybody's getting the same thing. And in this case, you've still been able to create that, on-site in that group experience, but it's also been customized and it's kind of meeting each student where they're at within that same lesson. So that's really cool. So let's for this last 8 minutes here, just kind of riff on any ideas or thoughts we've been having around where's this headed? What are the next big unlocks in instruction with AI and EdTech? What else can we enable? Like, what's coming down the pike, either that you're aware of or that you're like hoping for? So this is open popcorn. Whoever's got something, go ahead and unmute and kick us off here. Oh, Dan, I've got you unmuted, but I don't have your sound.
Sorry, I got an extra mic, so it's kind of weird. Yeah. So I think I've been sitting in a lot of just like product meetings over the past 6 months, and I think especially with Coursemojo, I've seen just like a little bit of the growth even from the last time that we met, and some of the features that have been added. And I really like the everything's starting to kind of have that collaborative edge to it, right? And I think that is going to be something that as just like industry wide, it should be leaned on, right? That collaborative piece is what is going to be, regardless of the world that develops tomorrow, that's going to be something that's needed, right? That humanity piece. And so I think just seeing your guys' products and kind of that lens towards that piece of it, I think is big and good. And I think that's like leaning into that. And I think almost even the use of voice models, right? And like those type of things, I think that like as we continue to build, the inputs are going to get cheaper, right? The API calls are going to get cheaper. The voice models are going to get cheaper. So it's almost like build the premium product, because like the cost is going to go down. Just that's how it works. And so having like that top end high premium, like it may operate at a loss for a little while until the market catches up, but then it's going to be, that's the one. Like and so I almost like on the stuff I'm building, I'm trying to build with like the highest models, the best data analytics, and taking almost that approach, because like it costs more today, but in a day or in a week, it's going to be able to reduce our costs as a network, and it'll all balance out. Like it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah. Excellent. Mm-hmm. What do you what do you have, Liz? Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob, I was just going to say, as I look at these, and it's so exciting, and, thank you for letting us play with one, because if I'm engaged in it, I'm thinking, our students are going to be engaged too. But as a school administrator, what I'm really thinking about is, what is this going to look like from a school perspective in a truly personalized learning environment, where every child has access to different things based on really what their needs are, and their learning environment changes and grows with them. And I feel like that's going to be the powerful thing that might be the most difficult, right? Because and I don't know if it's there has to be one thing that holds it all together, right? Whether it's the standards or whatever we use to say, this child is going to be learning, that they're all learning the same things, but in different ways using different tools. And then what does that look like for a school or a district? I mean, we're used to, district curriculum adoption, where it's like, pick one thing and then everybody uses it. We know that it needs to be more tailored. And so I think like I'm most excited about the possibility of like having all these different platforms available, and then being able to create that truly personalized learning environment. And it also completely terrifies me, because I just don't know how on earth we're going to get there, and how we're going to make sure that children really are getting what they need in front of them, and how the adults in their lives are the ones that are really going to be such an important part of making sure that happens. And it's kind of the wild and woolly wilderness. I
like the yeah, it's super sweet. I like the connection between the demos, in the sense that we've got Mr. D and Shunya and Coursemojo showing like, hey, here's the application of this, and then Strive on the back end, great, how well did it work? And then here are recommendations based on what we're seeing parts that are falling down and not. So we've got our parsecs and our Strives and others that will be able to ingest and analyze that data more effectively and feed it back in. That's one of the big themes I'm thinking in terms of any of you that have spoken with me a bit know that like my passion area is it entirely focused on limiting wasted human potential. And the main thesis of how to get there is you shorten those pathways as much as possible. So it's like life, education, work, even with curriculum, it's like, great, don't don't kind of guess, as quickly as possible, get the feedback from how is this actually working and feed it directly back into the learner, their interests. So I could see something like a Coursemojo, as I recall from CCSA, it like takes a little bit of thinking ahead of time and you got to plan it to that. I bet that gets smarter and smarter over time. And so it's able to pre-suggest, here's the insertion to all of these areas. And oh, and based on this unique student and what we know about them and how they learn best, here's a few additional adaptations. You know, so I can see this just multiplying on itself. But the big thing is that it's a cycle, that you're getting feedback from, well, how did it actually go? And then that's feeding directly back into, here are the adjustments, here are the new opportunities, and so on.
And on that point, Jacob, I hope one of the things that's going to get disrupted is assessment. Like right now, the notion that we, stop every 8 weeks and assess with what really feel like old tools now, especially the extent to which they're almost exclusively still multiple choice. I think that's all going to get blown up. I think we're going to have authentic student work on a daily basis that's going to be analyzed almost instantly by AI, provide actionable insights to the teacher, provide roll-ups to the school leader, even at a broader level. And it's going to be so much more interesting because we're actually going to have way more valuable insights into student thinking and student work. And if we get what Dan's talking about, if we get the voice recognition, which is just hard in a noisy classroom, like there's a bunch of different solutions that have to come together, including the microphone technology. But if we get that, then we can get data on how well kids' social skills and how effectively they're able to work together in teams and all sorts of stuff. What I like about Liz's comment, and sometimes because I'm working on this, I'm brought in as like the AI enthusiast. And the truth is, like, I'm worried. Like, I think this could go in any number of directions. And I think if it goes in the direction of just like higher powered EdTech tools in the old paradigm, which for me is silent, solo, kids put on headphones and they go down this like personalized pathway. And if it's overly gamified and if it has just like adds to the short attention spans that are already kind of a disaster, as the mother of 2 teenage boys, like I hate the way they are currently using devices for the most part. So I think it really could go that way. And so what I like about Liz's comment is I think it has to start with the vision that educators have for highly effective teaching and learning and for student experience, and ultimately where we want this whole thing to head. And, part of why, as was called out, we care so much, and it sounds like a number of the other products do, about kids working together, is I think that's going to be even more important in the age of AI. Like, so how are we building products that insist on, like, foster it, celebrate it, cultivate it, insist on it? And how do we have the kind of personalized learning that I'm sure Liz is describing, which, really is meeting every kid's needs? And what AI is able to do is, I think, it makes so many more of us coders, and that's only going to accelerate. And the ability to, Dan said he's working on a bunch of stuff. Like, a lot of people will be working on a lot of personal solutions that will be increasingly effective, aligned to their vision and values.
Yeah.
So that's what's exciting to me. But I think if we just let the market play the way the market would play, the incentives are not there to produce sort of consistently high quality products and solutions.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, that might be an interesting thing to bring to the AI and education work group, if there was a single incentive that you think is like the most damaging right now and that you could replace it with, what would it be?
I think at the risk of grossly oversimplifying, on the for-profit side, generally what you're told is go identify a big total addressable market and go as fast as you can towards capturing that market. So I think the problem with that is it leads you to more generic tools. Like I'm going to develop a tutor that will tutor kids for every grade and subject. And the AI is not up to that right now. Like if you actually go into the generic bots, the experiences, you have to sort of obsess over the math experience and the symbols that kids have to be able to use and visualizing. For our side, we're like way down the ELA rabbit hole in the specific kinds of reading habits that we want to intentionally reinforce. And what actually is what's causing students to struggle with reading comprehension, as opposed to treating it like it's all, they have problems finding the main idea. That's generally not the problem. The problem is text complexity. The problem is background knowledge. The problem is vocab. But anyway, so I think it doesn't lead, right now, the incentives are not for the kind of specialized solutions that if you look at medicine, the best products are developing highly specialized solutions for radiology, for example. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I'd love to hear what others have to say.
That's great. Is that a hand raise or is that just your condition, Lourdes?
That's my condition.
There we go. Okay. Krisha? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just to bounce off of that, I think we've seen this a lot with ed tech fields where sometimes, like with e-learning, for example, like sometimes the new technology will go into the field and it's considered a rapidly advancing field where there's a lot of money to be made. And so because of this, sometimes, especially like you mentioned, the private sector, the reasons for the technology to exist sometimes chase behind the technology advancements versus the other way around. And so I think sometimes that's kind of what you're talking about, where you see like, sometimes they'll just try to throw AI into the pot of everything now, sort of as a marketing solution, rather than looking at where it actually makes the most sense and where it really is addressing a gap. But I do think, I'm optimistic in the field. I think that, I think we're going to see, in the same way we have seen with other ed tech fields, that it'll start to kind of even out once over time. But thank you for everything that you were saying there. I think that I agree, and I think that I think on our end, as those who work with technology for the school districts themselves, it's just up to us to make sure that when we do look at these technologies, that they are actually on our end fulfilling an actual need, an actual gap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm acknowledging that we're at 4:02 p.m. Pacific. If we still want to keep some conversation going, happy to hang out a bit here. Rashi's got another comment, but I'll understand if you need to drop and you've got a next thing too.
Yeah, my just simple comment is AI doesn't always have to be used as the tutor, which we see in a lot of scenarios. But for example, for us, we use AI in a lot of development process. As we are iterating the product, as we are speaking to the teachers, even in the design phase, as we're designing and user testing, we are able to roll out a lot more curriculum because we are using the AI tools to add to increase the capacity of engineers and the design teams and the teachers' feedback and the user feedback in that capacity, even though when the product is used in the school districts or in the hands of teachers, they're really intentional about it. They are scaffolding the curriculum based on the child. It's not progressive learning, but it's completely controlled by the teachers. So what I'm saying is that AI has different ways of being used. One is using AI in the product, but there is also AI at the back end of the product that, if used effectively, is really meaningful.
Yeah, excellent. One of the concepts we've been exploring is the idea of AI being middle to middle, and that the opportunities are still going to be on the end to end. So really clarified inputs, and then a lot of quality assurance and positioning it in the right places and like that on the back end. I've also been thinking I'm like up for some big re-examination of concepts. So Daisha mentioned the assessments, and I think that's interesting. I think like the measuring of like what does success look like could be re-examined as well. Like we could have various domains of, call it, health, in addition to like what knowledge do you have around this? We've been exploring ideas around, you know, just messing with the fundamental assumption of putting people together just by age and geography, and instead grouping people together more by interest and spanning across bigger age ranges. Uh, Interesting things. And
I could speak to that a little bit, Jacob, because
yeah,
I just
thanks,
went down a
Neil.
rabbit hole in my head last night about like if I were able to blow it up and like redo it, what would it look like? And so, and I thought a little bit based on the conversation we had the other day. I think like I was like, okay, pie in the sky, you're gonna need decoding, you're gonna need comprehension. So I think like a slow roll, you'd be like TK through sixth initially probably not be touched at all, right? We're gonna not touch that. But then after that, you'd be like seventh and eighth grade, you're like identity building. And then high school would be almost like that domains thing. So now you're picking your path, right? Is it going to be a CTE path? Is it going to be like an early college path? Is it going to be like an entrepreneurship path? Is it going to be a creative path? But like blowing it all up at like sixth grade, because if you look at the numbers, the average American is about sixth grade in reading, and probably that might be a little high for math. And so like in terms of society, we're at sixth grade, you got what you need to get through. And beyond that, it becomes like, okay, who are we as people? And like, what does that mean? And so how do we then like identify who we are and then create actualized like projects in the real world? Like, so community building, entrepreneurship, getting those network certifications and things like that. And so like, I was just spinning in my head last night about like, it's almost like the Harry Potter sorting hat needs to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got the vibe. That's the direction I'm keep visualizing as well. And it's basically if the indexing is happening up front, but also ongoing. Hey, Dan, who are you? What do you care about now? What do you like? And also helps you maybe see some like weak legs or some spots that aren't on your radar, but that would also be of interest. And now we're matchmaking according to that. Oh, here's the next mentor. Here's the next, club or group or whatever to plug into. We started the dialogue talking about like I want to see conferences doing that better, with matching people up with the exhibitors who are there and the groups that are there and the tracks that are there. But obviously, education can go in that direction as well, and it can be much more organic. And I'm picturing like cells grouping and regrouping and like that according to these interests and appetites, versus so much just well, you're this age and you live here, and so there you go, boom.
And I think another thing is like, I think conceptualizing real world things. Like for me, math didn't click for me until I got to geometry, and I was like, oh, it's shapes, like it's conceptualized for me, and like, oh, it all makes sense now. And so like, I think that there's really something to actualizing what you've learned into something either physical or tangible or real, right? Because then you're building your vision of I can do things, I can make change, I can create, and you're creating this identity of like not pushing the envelope necessarily, but like I do things versus I sit and think about things and don't do things and tweet about them or whatever.
Exactly. Perfect. Right on, gang. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this one. Anybody have any thoughts on other topics that are like of interest to get into? I've got a few I'm always cooking, but I always like to, and we missed on some folks giving their contributions, but I'll send the recording out, and people can always reply to those emails with what they want to see next.
I gotta pop off, but just thanks for having me, Jacob, and inviting. It's cool to be a part of and just see some people and some familiar faces and stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for everyone for showing up, participating, and I will stop our recording here now.
Thanks, guys. All right.